Come on, get his hair sorted. There we go. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Boost. With me, Chris Tibbsy Tibbets. You gotta get a DJ name now, and Dom Boyd. Good morning, Mr. Boyd. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm good. I'm feeling good.
It's Monday, mate. Of course you're feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely. Got up an hour late. Didn't reset the alarm after tactfully changing the alarm yesterday for an hour later, so I didn't lose out on any sleep. But then forgot to tactically change the alarm back to today. So I actually got an extra hour's sleep overall because I didn't wake up for an extra hour. So yeah.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Tinker.
Mr. Tinker's in. Good morning.
Hey, lad.
So yeah, reset the clock to tactfully not lose out on his sleep, and then forgot to reset it. So tactically getting back up at normal time. Ended up getting up at 6:30 this morning, but loved it because I've only done 5,000 steps, and I normally done about 10,000 by now. But it's not sitting well with me as such. It's not completely at ease, but I'm like, okay, we'll go out at 11 o'clock when I've got a little gap. We'll get another few thousand, by which point I will have done my journal. I will have got it up to 10,000, so on and so forth. So I just rejigged and
Mate, I'm gutted, right? Like I put my Fitbit on charge last night, and I took Eva out for a walk at night time, and we were out for 45 minutes. I missed out, so I would have hit 30,000 steps yesterday, but I left my Fitbit at home.
How gutting is it when you leave your watch on charge?
I was like,
oh, you've done 30,000 steps, but nobody else.
Heartbroken because I'm thinking, it was a good 45-minute walk with her. I know don't go completely fast because she stops and pees every 5 seconds, but I was thinking, I looked at my watch, I'm going, I would have a 30,000 step day. I'm like, how annoying, but anyway.
1,000 step day.
Yeah, so
just nobody stroke your ego to look at it and say, Tibbsy's done 30,000 steps. Give him a pat on the back. Only you know.
Hey, mate, honestly, and we always say Fitbit calorie burns are shit until they get a good score. And mine said I burned 5,200 calories yesterday, so I was dead happy.
Yeah.
But they're not accurate, and you can't believe them.
Yeah.
But when they're like that, I do believe them.
Well, it's a good little. Where are we going today? Interjection into today, then.
So today we're talking about sort of planning and reviewing, and how do you know your goals are on track? Because obviously last night with our TX and T365 guys, we had a monthly review.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite often when people are setting goals, they never actually stop to, one, check progress, two, celebrate where they've come from and the wins they've had, and three, course correct if they need to. Because just because you have a goal, things change. I don't advocate going throwing a goal away, but you need to be making sure it's still serving you and is working. So this is today's topic of conversation.
Yeah, we had a good session last night with both groups. With both groups from the program, and it was the monthly review, and it was interesting because I found this on Friday. So last night beforehand, I did a score out of 10. So score yourself out of 10. This was at the very beginning of the session. I hadn't asked them any questions. They hadn't reviewed any of the program, but we got them to score themselves out of 10. To then go through a few questions, reminding themselves of all what's gone over the month, the wins, what they've learned about themselves, etc., and then ask them to rescore themselves. And the reason I did that was because I learned something on Friday that I'd almost written the quarter off, because the last couple of weeks they've been tough. I think everybody knows that, but not just from mum's illness, but just loads of different stuff coming at me, and I was just. We haven't run a program this month, so that was a little bit different, new experience. So I wasn't always chasing something. So I'm not chasing something. What's going on? So Friday I was like, this quarter's shit. 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I then reviewed the report. I listed everything I'd done, and I'd totally forgotten. Like, I'd been to 2 baby scans. I'd forgotten I was having a baby. I'd been to 2. I bought a house.
You won't forget in August, I can promise you.
You know, but then, so I was like, all these things cropped in, and I was like, I just had a bad day. Like, I just let a bad day drop my score from an 8 or 9 out of 10 right down to a 5 or 6. Yeah. And I did that with the crew last night, with the team in Transform X and the guys out of Transform 365 program. We did that, and surprisingly, or not surprisingly for me, but surprisingly to them, a few of them had. Yeah, I'd forgot I was having a baby. It's not my fault. I'm not carrying it. The wife's looking at me.
You've just knocked him off course, mate. Well done, buddy.
I've got burning eyes looking at me right now from the wife. Yeah. So I'd let a bad day, essentially a bad week, if you will, ruin and really bring down my whole quarter. And a lot of the guys in both programs also had that experience. I asked them to score themselves. One guy, Kevin. I don't know if he's listening, but if he is or he tunes in later, Kevin had scored himself 5 out of 10. And then this is a common theory in the early stages of transformation. You're very hard on yourself. Kevin had scored 5 out of 10. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I said to Kevin, I could think of 10 things, amazing things he'd done last week. Like, the guy was, for the whole month, should have been 10 out of 10. Like, it was absolutely always room for that, you know, increase your standard next month, but nevertheless. So yeah, that is ultimately why, that's the reason why it's so important to review, to measure your goals, to remind yourself of the little wins, because one bad day or one bad meal could absolutely destroy your day, and you've done so well.
Well, it's when you hear people say, I've had a shit week, a shit day. It's like, no, you haven't had a shit day or a shit week. You've had elements of it that have been a bit shit. But actually, when you sit back and review it, even, there is good in every day.
This will be hard for some people to take. What I'm about to say will be hard. And I find it hard sometimes. I'm not going to bullshit anybody. But it wasn't really a shit anything, was it? It was just your perception of the event.
Yeah.
That's hard for me to take, because not always, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but it's up here, it's in your mind. It wasn't a shit day, it wasn't a shit, it was just something happened. It was just an event that we've now labeled, instead of being grateful and or positively looking at the event and saying, what have I just learned, what lessons have I taken away from it. But there you go, and that proves that I wasn't doing that in the last couple of weeks, because I was doing it even with certain things that were tough. I was looking at the positives, but on a whole, I wasn't looking at the quarter. I wasn't going back and going, we've run a mini course. We've Transform 365 has been going 13 weeks. They're in the week. We've got a Transform X. I'm having a baby. I've been to 2 scans. I wasn't even meant to go to the second scan. I wasn't allowed. Boris said no, and then all of a sudden I was going in, and it was the best thing I've ever experienced. I'm buying my second house. We went. It was like bang bang. I didn't take out all the lessons. I just let the emotion override everything, consume you.
But how you're feeling in that present moment in time, rather than looking at the data and looking at the facts.
Absolutely. And you talked about checking progress, and that was the purpose of last night. Checking it and checking it regularly so you can course correct. We checked it last night. That was a monthly check. We get the guys to, we work with them in depth to check regularly on a weekly basis. I promote and several of them are checking at lunchtime. Are they on track for what they've set for that day? And if they're not, it doesn't, they might not score themselves, 3 out of 3 on priorities for that day. And they might know that by 12 o'clock, because things happen, events happen and take us off. But they're looking at the priorities, and rather than losing energy, losing credit, because they're going to now have unmet expectations, they just reset their priorities. and then finish the day on a high, setting themselves up to, it's important to course correct. It's important to check progress almost every few hours.
Well, what you think about a plane flying across the Atlantic Ocean, and they don't go, "Oh, I'm plotting my course and I'm just going to put on autopilot." They make 30,000 corrections on a flight.
100%. Data on flying is crazy. And pilots, captains are highly trained people as well. Highly trained. They are flying all the time. Even still, they get in that cockpit and they run through a whole list, as long as your arm, of checks that they do, priorities sorted. And then they're still course correcting for the next 12 hours or whatever they're doing flying,
Yes. Which is exactly why you should do it yourself.
100%. And that's a massive part of our program. There's no, you've got to do these things so you make time for yourself.
So moving forward with these guys, so obviously we had a great session with them. They're left ready for the month ahead, but I suppose now their challenge is what they're doing in April, isn't it? So they've got to make sure that they're keeping the progress and the standards high, because you can't afford to let things slip. It's too easy to get complacent. It's too easy to go, I've had a great month, but actually all you're doing is leveling up and raising your standards.
100%. Change is inevitable. So if you've plateaued, all that's happened is you've reached the of your current standard, and you've hit that for a couple of weeks. You're at your highest level of your current standard. You've got to raise that standard and start learning again. You've got to set new objectives, and it was just something I said to them last night, was be specific in what you want. That's how you're going to measure it. It's got to have a number attached to it. You can't just have an idea. You can't just fluff something up. I want to lose weight this month. How much? You'll have a number in your mind, but if you don't write it down, you won't.
It's generic, isn't it? I want to lose weight. Well, okay, so if you lose half a pound, are you happy?
Yeah.
Because you hit your goal if you lost half a pound.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And often, and again, I was bad for this at the beginning. In the early days, was I'd be that guy saying I want to lose weight, and I'd probably have a number in my mind. I want to lose half a kilo, let's say, in this week, and then, but I wouldn't write it down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be writing it down, and then I'd get half a kilo in by Wednesday, say, and then I'd move the needle. In here, I'd move the needle in my head, and now all of a sudden I don't get to the needle. I don't reach and meet the needle by Saturday, and all of a sudden I've had a shit week. When actually I'd hit the numbers on Wednesday, because I didn't write it down. I allowed myself to move the needle, and then I'd reset the expectations, and now I'd have unmet expectations. All of a sudden I had a shit week.
Yeah.
You've got to make this very specific. You've got to write it down, and work towards that goal. And if you do it early, and if you do get more, then you just reset the following week. It was too easy, so make it a little bit more challenging.
You always need to have a little bit of a stretch target, but you don't make it too big that you're going to fail. Because once you fail, then you go into that cycle of despair. But if your target is too easy, then you're not going to. You're just going to fob it off.
100%. Make it exciting. Make it challenging. And have a number attached to it and write it down.
Well, there's no number. You can't measure it. You can't know if you're on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, what else we got on this week, Mr. Boyd? Because we don't have any lunch boxes at the moment. Season 1 finished.
Season 1's finished. We are going to be doing. We're going to be doing some reviewing ourselves. That's what we're going to be doing. Seeing what's worked, seeing what's not worked, seeing what we can do better, where can we improve, and then coming back on all fronts, programs, socials. And we may even change the morning boost. Maybe it's going to become the daily boost.
Who knows?
We'll know.
It's all exciting. It's exciting. There's twists and turns to keep everyone engaged and everyone interested to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Wow.
And we might have to get a daily boost with Mr. Tinker.
Yeah. Oh, good morning, Mr. Evans. How are you, sir? Happy Monday to you too. There we go. So,
yeah.
Morning, Paul. But, yes.
Hope you were well, Paul.
We will just have to keep people on their toes.
Absolutely.
They don't know what's going to come next. So our next morning boost that we scheduled is Wednesday now.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So it'll be an interesting one about loving oneself on Wednesday.
Loving yourself. That will be interesting.
I'm interested in that. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much for watching. And if you're on podcast listening, and I have to say this because I say it every time, and thank you, Paul, for putting #replay when you've been watching, and you, Mr. Tinker. It does help me. It makes me feel a lot better because it also means people are listening to me. So if you are watching this on replay on LinkedIn or on Facebook, please put #replay. And if you're listening to us on podcast, please just leave us a review because we're nice guys. Dom, I will speak to you later. We will see us both again on Wednesday morning for the morning boost.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everybody, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Adios.
Adios.